Hi, I'm Marie Carr with PwC, and today we're joined by Jamie Yoder and Anand. Jamie, you've spent the better part of the last 25 years working in financial services and for the last decade, specifically looking at executives and insurance and dealing with strategic issues around innovation and the like. Anand, you bring great experience in financial services, asset management, and particularly from the view of data and analytics. So it's great to talk to you today about your work that you've been doing in the realm of Insurance 2020 and researching and understanding where the market is going. Jamie, can you tell us a little bit more about Insurance 2020 and give us an overview of what that is?
Sure. We started this journey about 5 years ago, so really at the start of the decade. We pinpointed sort of 2020 as far enough in the future where we could be a little more bold and a little more aggressive, and we developed a framework we call STEEP, which is essentially a comprehensive framework to evaluate the macro trends really affecting all sectors of the insurance market, and so specifically social, so those customer changes, technological change, environmental, economic, and political factors, to really take a look at all of those views and paint scenarios. And actually very bold and disruptive scenarios of the future of what 2020 could look like. And over this time we've really met with hundreds of executives and teams of leaders. And initially I would say we were met with some skepticism, right? Both in terms of sort of the degree of change that may occur, but now I think just a few years in, so we're about halfway through the decade, and I would say that we've reached a point where this is much more broadly accepted. In fact, in our 2015 CEO survey, where we survey CEOs across all industries around the globe, insurance CEOs had basically identified, when see disruption over the next 5 years, more change across every dimension than every other industry. 2/3 saw an increase in the number of significant competitors, both traditional and new entrants. About 70% saw significant disruption from customer behavior, and about the same amount from disruption in their distribution channels. On top of that, 90%, or almost 90%, saw significant disruption in the regulatory environment. But it's not just them, right? So Silicon Valley, sort of the hotbed of innovation, and the venture capitals community. Interestingly, Andreessen Horowitz came out with the recent top 16 technology trends that they're following, monitoring, and investing in. And I think in many cases, no surprise, there's themes out there like machine learning and some of the big data things that people have a lot of discussion about. But insurance is one of those top 16 trends, and I think that's a very interesting development in terms of the focus. And the pace of change that they see as well. So, when we think about the future and what the future holds, I think we see even more disruption. And we'll talk more about in depth. But we took this point of now that we're halfway through the decade and the pace of change has been even faster than we anticipated. 2020 almost feels like tomorrow. So we've sort of recast our view to look beyond 2020, to really continue to put out there something that stretches the thinking and challenges us. And I think, to that end, the challenge as executive teams is, this sort of new model and new world for insurers demands, thinking about and approaching things a little differently. And so when we think about our strategies, our strategic planning exercise, how do we think like a disruptor? And then when we turn to execution, how do you act like a startup? Right? In this world, how do we get more nimble? How are we more agile? How do we, create an environment where we can test and learn, where we can adapt and move, and then we can operate perhaps with a different cost structure or even a partnership system than exists currently.
What is really interesting here is how the sentiment has changed even in these 5 years. So when we started this, there was a lot of skepticism, as Jamie was saying, in terms of the pace of change. For example, there's one particular South African company which was really doing some very innovative stuff in the life insurance space. When we started talking about almost 6 years back, everyone said, oh, that's only in South Africa. It can't happen in Europe, or it can't happen in Asia or US. Then slowly after a couple of years, we saw the company started doing some joint ventures in UK, became very successful. Then again, it was, no, Asia is different, US is definitely different. And then over the period of time, we have seen that they have come pretty much everywhere. And that's just one example. So you take autonomous cars, you take life insurance, you take commercial insurance, and underwriting, automatic underwriting. In every phase almost, the pace, I would say, is accelerating. We are almost at that shoulder of that exponential curve, and I'm sure the CEOs are feeling it, which is what our surveys show.
Definitely. So basically, the takeaway is disruption is here to stay, it's pervasive, it's everywhere, it's impacting even the areas that we wouldn't even expect it to impact.